Imagine this, a blind woman from a small Bulgarian village who spoke not with authority or loud predictions, but with quiet certainty and conviction. That was Baba Vanga, the so-called Nostradamus of the Balkans. She gained a global following for her uncanny visions, claiming to foresee everything from the Kursk submarine disaster to the 9/11 attacks and more. But the year 2024 proved particularly intriguing. Multiple reputable outlets now suggest that several of her prophecies for that year appear to have materialized. For instance, Vanga's forecasted economic hardship came into stark reality. Global inflation soared, interest rates rose, and many economies struggled with rising costs and ongoing instability. Meanwhile, she also predicted a sharp worsening of climate conditions, and 2024 indeed recorded unprecedented heat, devastating floods, and catastrophic wildfires that made it one of the hottest years on record. As if that wasn't enough, Vanga spoke of medical breakthroughs, specifically noting advances in treating cancer and other incurable diseases. In 2024, a notable breakthrough in cervical cancer treatment reduced death risk by a staggering 40%. This convergence of predictions and reality isn't easily dismissed. But the deeper you go into details about technology, biological threats, or geopolitical strife, the more unsettling the picture becomes. While some of Baba Vanga's visions for 2024 spoke of breakthroughs and hope, others leaned toward the unsettling. Among her most alarming predictions was the rise of biological weapons, a warning that scientists and security analysts take seriously even today. She allegedly foresaw experiments on humans, where labs would create bioweapons capable of mass devastation. Now, did 2024 see that exact prophecy come true? Not directly, but we can't ignore the fact that the global stage was filled with anxiety about pandemics, lab leaks, and the race for biotechnological dominance. The debates over virus origins and the international push to regulate biolabs echo the very fears Vanga's vision seemed to warn about. Another shocking forecast involved a shift in Earth's orbit. Though astronomers did not confirm a catastrophic orbital change in 2024, headlines told another story: extreme climate disasters, unprecedented global temperatures, and chaotic weather patterns. To her followers, these violent changes in nature felt like proof that the Earth itself was moving toward imbalance, just as she described. And then there was the most extraordinary claim: first contact with extraterrestrials. Vanga's prophecies often hinted at humanity being observed, even visited by beings beyond Earth. In 2024, while no undeniable contact was announced, sightings and reports of UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena, spiked in US congressional hearings and global news. For believers, this wasn't coincidence. They argue it's a slow revelation, step by step, toward disclosure. To skeptics, these may sound like coincidences. To her followers, they are proof that Baba Vanga's shadowy visions are unfolding, sometimes in subtle ways, sometimes with terrifying clarity. Beyond climate and science, Baba Vanga's prophecies for 2024 reached straight into the heart of global politics. She reportedly foresaw economic collapse and rising instability, and for many, 2024 was a year that validated those fears. From the US to Europe, inflation and debt crises weighed heavily on ordinary citizens. Food and fuel prices surged, sparking protests across multiple nations. Economists warned of recession risks. In some parts of the world, people even called it the Second Great Depression in slow motion. For Vanga's believers, these turbulent conditions aligned with her words: a year where money would lose value and ordinary people would suffer. Then came the political earthquakes. In her prophecies, Vanga described a shift in global power, with new nations rising as traditional giants struggled. In 2024, geopolitical tensions erupted on nearly every continent. Russia's ongoing war in Ukraine reshaped alliances. The US election cycle grew more divisive than ever, casting doubt on the future of its global leadership. And in Asia, China's growing influence in trade and technology was undeniable. She also hinted at a great divide in Europe, and indeed, debates over energy, migration and war left the European Union fractured, with several countries questioning the strength of unity. To her followers, these weren't random headlines. They were evidence that Baba Vanga's vision of a shifting world order was coming true. She once warned that old empires will fall and new powers will rise from the East. For many, 2024's headlines felt like the first act of that prophecy unfolding. But what truly shocked her audience was her suggestion that 2024 would be a turning point, a year where humanity would have to choose between cooperation and chaos. And looking at the world stage, it's hard to deny we are teetering on that very edge. While much of Baba Vanga's legacy is tied to politics and disasters, some of her most fascinating and controversial visions for 2024 were profoundly spiritual. She often described humanity standing at a crossroads, not just in terms of survival, but in its spiritual evolution. She foresaw a time when people would begin to awaken to deeper truths, recognizing that life is not just physical, but also spiritual. To her followers, 2024 felt like a year where that awakening began to stir. Global interest in meditation, mindfulness, and alternative spirituality soared. Millions sought answers outside traditional institutions, turning instead to personal experiences, inner peace, and holistic ways of living. But Vanga also issued warnings about human arrogance. She said that technological progress could blind us, leading humanity to forget its spiritual roots. In 2024, AI dominated headlines, its rapid rise sparking debates about ethics, identity, and even the definition of what it means to be human. To believers, this looked like the very warning she spoke of, progress without wisdom. And then came her cryptic hints about contact beyond Earth. Vanga often suggested that humanity was not alone, that other intelligences would eventually reveal themselves. In 2024, discussions of UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena, reached mainstream attention, with US congressional hearings openly debating sightings and unexplained aerial events. Was this the first step toward the prophecy of contact? Her visions were rarely straightforward, but always layered with symbolism. For some, her mystical prophecies meant humanity was entering a dangerous but transformative era. For others, they were metaphors warning us to find balance between science and spirit, technology and humanity, progress and humility. And yet, her visions didn't stop with 2024. She spoke of ripple effects, how the choices made this year would echo into the future, shaping the path of nations, economies, and even human survival. As 2024 unfolded, believers in Baba Vanga watched closely. To them, the year carried echoes of her most dire prophecies, a fragile world on the edge of chaos, yet holding the potential for renewal. Among her most chilling warnings was the possibility of catastrophic disasters, earthquakes, floods, and even solar storms disrupting human life. In fact, scientists did confirm unusual solar activity in 2024, raising concerns about the vulnerability of power grids and satellites. And record-breaking floods and heat waves around the globe only deepened the feeling that her predictions had found their moment. Yet Baba Vanga's words were not all doom. She also spoke of hopeful breakthroughs, new cures for deadly diseases, and humanity's ability to survive crises through cooperation. Indeed, 2024 witnessed medical advances, especially in oncology, that gave doctors new tools against cancers once considered unstoppable. To her followers, these events were the proof that even in darkness there was light. What makes her legacy so captivating isn't just the accuracy of certain prophecies, it's the mystery. Vanga's visions were never presented as simple instructions. They were puzzles, fragments, glimpses into possible futures, and perhaps that is why people still turn to her words, not for certainty but for perspective. Looking back at 2024, one thing becomes clear. Baba Vanga's predictions touch the fears and hopes of a turbulent year. Whether you see her as a gifted seer, a voice of symbolic warning, or simply a storyteller whose visions coincidentally matched history, the fascination remains. And the question lingers. If so many of her warnings aligned with reality, what will happen with the ones she set for the years ahead? Baba Vanga's voice echoes from the past, but her warnings feel more alive today than ever before. If her visions of 2024 left you shocked, imagine what's still to come. This channel uncovers the mysteries others try to silence. Subscribe now, turn on the notification bell, and don't miss the next prophecy that could change everything. And before you go, leave your thoughts below. Do you believe Baba Vanga truly saw the future, or are these shocking events just coincidences? Your comment might spark the conversation that the world needs to have tonight.